Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Don't confuse movement with progress.
Good point, Denzel. I couldn't agree more.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it, get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
Several years ago, in his speech, Academy Award-winning actor Denzel Washington addressed college graduates at Dillard University in a commencement that included, among many things, lessons in life he had learned, and one of those being a great quote, "Don't confuse movement with progress," something we're going to talk today on today's show. But before we get started with the Worry-Free Retirement, let me welcome you. I am that little man in the sweater vest, 401k rollover specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And as always, on this beautiful morning in Louisville, Kentucky, on November 5th, 2019, assisting us in the production of the show, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. How you doing today, Aaron?
Hey, good morning, sir. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing well. Today's topic, it's kind of funny. We're talking about monitor your progress. You and Megan, who's with us in the studio as well, Megan Murphy, helping us with some of the technical things we deal with on the show, came down to Bowling Green, Kentucky for a staff meeting this past Friday. And we kind of did that with our own company, didn't we? We monitored our progress and then set goals for the next year. What was just in 20 seconds or less, how important, how beneficial was that to you as a staff member to go through that monitor your progress?
Oh, extremely beneficial. You know, it's good to just get the two offices together at least once a year, if not maybe more, but it's just good to get everyone together and just kind of see, okay, who's doing what and how can I maybe possibly help them out, or if I have a question, who do I need to call?
Well, and also too, I think from a progress standpoint, we talked a lot about our firm. How many people have we helped in 2019 as opposed to 2018? How many assets have we grown under management, which is obviously indicative that we're doing a good job. And it was just really exciting stuff. But the problem is, folks, many of you in your personal financial life either don't have an advisor who knows how to do this, or maybe you just don't understand the importance of monitoring your progress. Now, today and for the next 3 weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to take the three halves of life. We're going to look at the first half today, halftime next week, and the second half of life the following week. And what we're going to do is help you understand how you go about, first of all, monitoring your progress, and then how and why a game plan, which we do at Tony Walker Financial, a written game plan, is a must to monitoring your progress. And, Aaron, we talk about this even in the meeting. I know you don't really get involved in much as Tony Walker Financial as you do Worry-Free Productions, but how much do I mention how important a written game plan is? Just everywhere.
Extremely.
So this is why. So think about that. I like golf. And although I like to keep score, but can you imagine if golf never came up with the concept of keeping score? You just went out and hit a ball.
Oh my gosh, I would love that. That would be great. That would be great for me.
Yeah, I've seen you play golf. I can understand why. But no, really, it's like, wait a minute. I mean, that's why we have scoreboards. That's why we have scorecards. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. But unfortunately, what happens, folks, and this is no slap on the financial world. The financial world just really doesn't care about game plans. Their job is to get your money, try to return money back to you in some form of fashion. But really and truly, they usually go into these transactions thinking what's in it for them. They're not thinking about how you're going to get the money and use and enjoy it. So what we're talking about today is how do you, in this first half of life, know how to monitor your progress. So when I come back, we're going to do a little bit, we're going to first of all talk about this debt that many of you in the first half of life are incurring in college and the effects of that debt. Also this phenomenon of more and more younger people living at home a little longer and why that's the case. And then if you're out there listening and you're in halftime or the second half of life, we're going to show you something later, really cool stuff, how you can maximize your 401k or IRA and translate that into tax-free money for you, your kids, and your grandkids. Good stuff coming up. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back.
With 401k plans at all-time highs, why continue to risk your hard-earned money? There's a safer way to retire worry-free. Attend nationally recognized retirement specialist Tony Walker's next free workshop, Retirement 101, December 9th in Louisville, December 10th in E-Town. These workshops are free, but seating is limited. So register today at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. And last week, if you didn't catch the show, by the way, you can check our podcasts out. They're on TonyWalkerFinancial.com or go to SoundCloud and listen to former radio shows, past radio shows. But we talked about this idea. I went back in time. You remember, Aaron, I talked about me in the 70s and meeting Susan. And
Yeah, that's when you were rocking the afro. That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
I did have a customized van.
A customized van?
Oh, yeah. I pulled up in the driveway.
Like a Scooby-Doo mystery machine?
I kind of like that. I actually did. I'll show you some pictures of it. It's a pretty cool thing. Mr. Moore, my father-in-law, wasn't real crazy about it. But okay, when you graduated college, can I ask something really personal?
Sure.
Did you have student debt when you went to college?
I did not.
I did not either. Back in my day, in the 70s, that was unheard of. Let me read you a statistic here. This is according to College Access and Success, all right? 2019, it says, highest debt ever. It's estimated that student debt is now at an amount, what would you guess? Just what came to your mind? Quick.
42 trillion.
Oh, no. This is why you're a production specialist and not a financial advisor. But that's still, well, at least you're in the T's. I figured you'd say 400 billion. $1.5 trillion. The average in 2017, the average loan per person on average, I'm sure it could be a lot higher or lower, but $28,000. So you think about this. Many people, folks, are coming out of college with all this debt. A lot of them have jobs where they can't even pay the debt back immediately. And then we have this other phenomenon. Here's an article here. It says, and this never happened when I was younger, a third of young adults, not teenagers, a third of young adults, an estimated 24 million, and that would be between the ages of 18 and 34, are still living at home. Why might that be?
I can believe that.
Why? Why do you think?
Because it's expensive to live on your own.
Heck, it is. Yeah, you're right. Again, so we're talking about the letter T. We had trillions. The other problem we have is technology. Here, bear with me. Okay, so let's go back in the 70s. And I can remember this, Aaron, in 1978 when cable TV came on the scene. I am serious. You wouldn't believe this. People back then thought it was a joke because they were going to charge $9.95 for cable. They only had a few channels.
I was going to say, I'm not paying $10 for 12 channels.
Yeah, I got an antenna up there. I get it for free. What's the deal? Now, I'm not even going to tell you what I pay for cable. Now it is downright embarrassing what my wife Susan and I spend on cable. Do you have internet on your home? In your home?
Yeah.
We got internet here. That was something that didn't exist. What about cell phones? That's
cell
a biggie.
Phones.
And you know what? I studied under a guy named Bob Castellone. He was a brilliant man. He talked about the concept of technological obsolescence. It's a fancy way of saying, yeah, you keep buying that new stuff, guess what else you're going to need? New stuff. Because the technology keeps just rapidly replacing. So that's a cost. So folks, before we come down too hard on these 18 to 34-year-olds that might be camping out at home, let's just call it what it is. It is very, very expensive for young people to live now. So we kind of get my cheat notes out here. So what I want to share with you is a little bit of statistics that we went through, all right? This was a study we did. So basically we had a study commission, and we wanted to find out what younger people were doing in terms of saving. Have I told you about this study, Aaron? This was about a year ago when we did this.
I don't think so.
Okay. So basically, and actually we told this company, spent a lot of money on this. We said, hey, don't go to Louisville or Lexington or Bowling Green. Let's go somewhere else. We went to Atlanta and Charlotte. They interviewed at length over 1,000 young adults. And what they came back with is the majority of people, this is young people, actually do want to save for retirement. I think we think, well, they're just a bunch of they're lazy, they don't want to do it. They do want to save. The problem is, how are they going to save?
Right.
So my granddad, first of all, when I got out, I didn't really need to save for retirement because it wasn't that expensive. I didn't even think about retirement. My granddad, the previous generation, they saved through their pensions. So we have Social Security that's in question. There are no more pensions anymore. And now young people can't save a lot of money because they don't have a lot of money. So the question is, what does this student loan really cost them? I'm going somewhere with this. So I did a calculation. Let me find that. All right. So we imagine we raised the bar a little bit just so we could make this pretty dramatic, but there's a lot of people I run into that have $50,000 of debt. Now, actually, this could be somebody that has $50,000 of normal debt, credit card debt. It doesn't have to be student loan debt. So what I'm going to show you, make sure if you're driving, keep both hands on the wheel. This stuff's going to kind of startle you when you see these numbers. What we imagine is somebody had a $50,000 loan, all right, and it charged 8%. They were being charged 8% on that loan. And they were going to try to get it paid off in 20 years. And let's say they did. See, a lot of people, this debt just hounds them. They can't get rid of it. So they pay it off in 20 years, but people forget it's not just the $50,000. They also lost all the interest. Does that make sense? So that's really $100,000 it cost them. So that's $100,000 that could have been invested for retirement, but is gone forever. You with me so far? It's called lost opportunity cost. So I had Heather in the office. I said, hey, Heather, just for the fun of it, because that $100,000 is gone, we're assuming the person was 25, now they're 45, right? 20 years later. So $100,000 at 8% in 30 years would have grown to, in other words, they would have had for their retirement $1 million.
It's a nice chunk of change.
Yeah, can we make the sound of a car crash? No, we shouldn't do that, yeah. So a $50,000 loan that some bank or institution's been making all this money on your money at 8% that took you 20 years to pay off is not just the $100,000 of principal and interest and opportunity cost. It's also understanding, folks, that money is gone forever. So why do I go here? What's the point? Or you may be saying, Tony, I'm 58 years old. I don't have student loan debt. I'm 70 years old. I don't have a bunch of debt. I knew better than that. Why are you even bringing all this up? What does this have to do with me? Well, may or may not have much to do with you, but it could have a lot to do with those whom you love that are in the first half of life. So let's think about this. You may be sitting there. I know we're getting ready to have my favorite son-in-law, Trey, on, and he can attest to this because he gets to meet a lot of our clients and gets to sit in on meetings. A lot of people, Aaron, they're getting in their 60s and 70s. They find, which I've been saying this for years, they actually start spending less money as they get older. So then they come to me and they go, well, I got all this money, Tony. I had a 74-year-old in just the other day. He told me this. He said, you told me this would happen 5 years ago when I met you. I'm back in here now. My wife is now legally blind. She had eyesight was poor. We got all this money and we can't do anything with it. We don't travel. We don't do anything. So I said, well, sir, have you thought about just starting to give it away to your kids and grandkids? And he said, well, yeah, I guess I could start doing that, but I haven't thought about it. Why not? I don't know. I haven't. How do you do it? He said, I don't know how to do that. Can I do that with taxes? I said, easy. So let's take this example. Maybe that's you. Little Johnny is now still at the household. He's 30 years of age. The coffee shop's not paying what he'd hoped. He's got a degree in environmental African studies or some sort of degree that he can't get a good job in or whatever. So, and he's got a $50,000 loan, and maybe you've got $500,000 in your 401k. Wouldn't it maybe be a consideration, just a consideration, if we strategize together? That money's going to be taxed anyway. You've heard me talk about the tax tumor, Aaron. I mean, $50,000 in your 401k or IRA, sir or ma'am, is not going to be worth that much. By the time inflation eats away at it, you don't spend it, you die and try to leave it to little Johnny, and he's got to pay a big tax on it, which is never going away. So why wouldn't we take it out over the next 2 years? We'll help you with this. We have someone in our office that gauges all the tax ramifications of our ideas. We're not going to just throw you out there blind. What if we took some money out of your 401k, paid the taxes now? We're at some of the lowest taxes in history, low taxes. Many of you are not taking advantage of this. And just pay the darn loan off. So if you're little Johnny, Aaron, and your dad or your granddad comes up and says, little Johnny, I tell you what, I'm going to make sure that loan is paid off between now and the end of next year. Would you say don't do it, or would you say thank you?
Yeah, I'd say no, don't do that for me. And of course I'd say sure.
And think about this. If you just listened to this show, and now as a result of that, the money you were paying, here's where everybody has to be accountable. If I were involved in this process, I'd say, now, little Johnny, You were paying that money to the credit card company or the people with the student loans. Why don't you, little Johnny, let me show you where you can put that, where it'll grow tax-free forever. And when, not if, when you die, that same money will go tax-free to your children. Doesn't that sound like a better use of your money, Aaron?
Yeah, hopefully little Johnny's not an idiot and says, yeah, sign me up.
Thank you. So folks, here's the point. A retirement planning specialist is not just out there hawking his wares or her wares and just wanting to roll your money over and make a bunch of money on it. A retirement planning specialist is all about planning for now, but also there to monitor your progress. So if you don't have anybody that you feel really, truly understands you and your money and wants to stay in touch with you, give us an opportunity to talk. It's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once there, all you got to do is click on the Let's Get Started or give us a call at 877-499-9255, and I'll be happy in person to talk with you by phone, or if we need to meet in person, we'll be happy to do that as well. Well, okay, we got an idea. We've got this thing going. What else could little Johnny maybe do to secure his or her future? Stay tuned. We're going to be back with my favorite son-in-law. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement.
With 401k plans at all-time highs, why continue to risk your hard-earned money? There's a safer way to retire worry-free. Attend nationally recognized retirement specialist Tony Walker's next free workshop, Retirement 101, December 9th in Louisville, December 10th in E-Town. These workshops are free, but seating is limited, so register today at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. In case you're just now joining us, we have been focusing today on what we call the fifth step of our process, monitor your progress. And specifically, we've been covering, there's three halves of life that we like to talk about, first half, halftime, second half. And we are focusing today solely on how does someone in the first half of life, which is generally below the age of 55 and under, how can those folks know that they're on the right track? Earlier, we covered several things. Number one, obviously, they can keep their debt as low as possible. Number two, what we'll talk about just in a second, they can secure permanent, I didn't say term, permanent life insurance. Number three, they can consider investing in a Roth IRA. That's an after-tax Roth IRA. Of course, it'll grow tax-free forever. If they do have a 401k match at their employer, consider putting up to the match. I wouldn't put above the match because, as we'll see, there's something much better you can do than a 401k plan. And then finally, maybe consider, for some people, real estate as an investment and let other people help pay for it. So what we thought we would do in this segment, we're going to take item number 2, securing permanent life insurance. And I have the good pleasure on this Tuesday morning in Louisville, Kentucky, in the studio, my favorite son-in-law, Mr. Trey Juergens. Good morning, Trey.
Good morning, Tony. Thanks for having me. It's been a while.
It has been a while, and I'd say you look bright-eyed, but not really.
I'm still working on coffee.
Okay, bushy-tailed, though?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, good. Well, it's good to have you with us. We appreciate you coming in. Yeah, Trey folks started with me several years ago, just doing a bang-up job in handling our life insurance department. At retirement planning, Tony Walker Financial, retirement planning specialist, not only handles investments, but has to handle investments that have a secure aspect to them. And of course, one of those is life insurance. And we're going to talk about a product today. It's something we've done on and off, and I've used on and off for years. But lately, it just seems like, I don't know, did we mention something about it on a webinar or something? You said you've had a lot of people want to know more about something we call 10-pay life insurance. So if you would, let's go over that, Trey.
Yeah, Tony. So when we were on the webinar, we kind of talked about the three types of life insurance. We broke down term, guaranteed universal life, and 10-pay. 10-pay is a type of dividend participating whole life, kind of the Cadillac type plan. And when we explained how you could fund a whole life policy in just 10 years, people thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I liken it to, and Trey's going to go over some numbers, folks. I liken this to the idea of people who like to pay off their house early, which there's nothing wrong with that. And it's funny, there's some people that I call them financial pundits or know-it-alls. They'll tell people to pay off their house early. But then when you bring up something like this to people, how can you pay off your life insurance early? I mean, we're all going to die, right? Why wouldn't we want to get back all of our money plus interest tax-free? And why wouldn't we want to leave something behind when we die? It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But then, so we mentioned the product you're going to go over, and they'll say, oh, no, I don't want to do that. And I'll say, What? Okay, so instead of buying a house, why don't we just rent a house? That's all term insurance is.
Yeah, I think you stole one of my cheat notes. I was talking about a 15-year versus 30-year mortgage. People
there you go.
talk about how they want to get out ahead of the house and have the equity in the home. And this 10 pay is really paying in 10 years your whole life insurance policy. The premiums might be a little high now, but you're still working. You're not taking premium payments into retirement.
Yeah, you ran an illustration. I think this is for a 35-year-old. Could you go over that, Trey?
Yeah, so I'll slow down since we're on radio. This is something I'd be happy to run for anybody to see a particular case. But for a 35-year-old female, non-smoker, what we did was we showed about $500 a month, so $6,000 on the year. And again, you're only paying 10 years. So after year 10, we'll kind of fast forward to the end of the 10 years. She's only put in $60,000.
Can I stop you there? Because let's slow down. This is pretty cool. Yeah, you say I only put in $60,000. Somebody might say, well, that's a lot of money. But again, let me emphasize, folks, she has a paid up policy, right? No more premiums.
Yep, she's done paying.
This is done. Mm-hmm. Okay, keep going.
Yep, so at that point, she's got about $59,000 in cash value. So she could really, in essence, turn around and get back out what she's put into it. All the while, she's had a $200,000 death benefit.
What did the death benefit start off on that trade?
It started at $195,000.
Okay, so age 35, $195,000. So if she would have died the second day after the policy, obviously no more premiums. Family still gets whoever she wants to get.
Tax-free, $195,000.
And what's at the 10th year? What is that death benefit?
That's grown to $222,000.
Aha! So a lot of people say, well, the death benefit doesn't grow. That's not true at all, is it? Now, this is what's fascinating. Okay, so this person's now 45. We're going to fast forward Trey down to 65. Now, this is based on current dividends. Oh, and we won't name the company. Did you see that come in the other day, the company? What did that company say about their dividends on their policy? How many years have they been paying them?
Consecutively 115 years. So pretty healthy.
So yeah, and a product's been around a little while, folks. I'd say that's. But anyway, go ahead and fast forward to 65 and summarize what's going on there, Trey.
We'll fast forward. The cash value at age 65 has grown to $141,000. Remember, she just put in $60,000. So over that time, it's grown to $141,000 of cash value. The death benefit is almost $89,000.
And here's the thing, folks. Our mantra is use, flexibility, and control. Which I did. When I bought the building in Louisville, I borrowed against my policy, my cash value. So the good thing about this is, too, versus, let's say, you're maxing out your 401k and you really can't get at that money until 59 and a half. We can help them with this trade. But let's say she's 50 and she wants to buy a new car. What could she do with this policy to help her do that?
So at age 50, if you fast forward in this illustration, again, I'd be happy to run one to show you in person. It's about $74,000. She could immediately ask this company to send her directly to her checking account, buy that car cash, and then all of a sudden she owes her policy. She owes herself back, not the bank. So she's kind of being her own bank.
Yeah, great, and she's now in control of it. We can also put I don't know if you do it on these 10 years, but if you do have a dividend participating whole life, we can also put on something called waiver of premium for disability. Explain how that might work.
I've got that on this policy. So
good.
The waiver of premium means she's pretty young. She's 35. She's still working for quite some time. In that time, if she ever were to become disabled, unable to work and pay that premium, this company, if you pay a little bit each year, they'll actually add that rider that means you don't have to pay the premium if you become disabled.
And I know you know about our clientele trade. Before you started, there was a gentleman in another county who became totally disabled. He was paying almost $30,000 a year for his life insurance. They've been paying the premium every year since. Pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you, Trey. How do people get in touch with you if they want a free illustration? And by the way, we're using a 35-year-old, folks. I mean, we've written these for people at ages. How old is the oldest person we've written this policy for?
Even 65.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it can still work as long as you're in good health.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how can they get in touch with you, Trey, for a free illustration?
Yeah, the easiest thing is my email is just Trey, Trey, at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. If you just give me some information, your first name, last name, your age, whether you have any nicotine use. I'll follow up with any particular questions regarding your health, and I can run an illustration on a 10-pay or any life insurance illustration you'd like to see, and I'd be happy to go over it over the phone or in person. But I think this 10-pay is a really neat product.
I love it, especially if you're in good health, folks. If you're younger and in good health, that's the thing about life insurance. This all sounds good, but if you get into some bad health down the road, you're not going to be able to get it. So consider this. If you're in good health, You got a little cash flow going. Why not lock in like your home? Why not get this thing paid up and done? I think you'll be glad you did. Trey, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, when we come back, we got a few minutes left. I'm going to share with you, regardless of your age, I'm going to take a 65-year-old and I'm going to go into a 401k that they're not using and show them how they can create tax-free money for their kids and protection for their grandkids. A cool concept coming up. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back.
With 401k plans at all-time highs, why continue to risk your hard-earned money? There's a safer way to retire worry-free. Attend nationally recognized retirement specialist Tony Walker's next free workshop, Retirement 101, December 9th in Louisville, December 10th in E-Town. These workshops are free, but seating is limited. So register today at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. In the essence of time, let me speed up on this example. So maybe you're listening to the last situation there of 10 pay. You say, man, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard of. Tony, I'm 65, I've had health problems, but I am concerned about my kids and grandkids. So here's a scenario, just a scenario, but kind of food for thought. Let's say this same 65-year-old, maybe that's you, has $500,000 in a 401k or IRA. All right, and let's say, and this happens a lot, people say, well, I don't really need the money. I've got Social Security, a little bit of pension, some savings, not spending a lot of money, and I'll just wait till I turn 70 and a half. Well, that may or may not be a good idea. So what I did in this example, remember, the premium on that 35-year-old was $6,000 a year, all right? So since this person at 65 is in a lower bracket, remember, folks, we are in lower tax brackets, lower taxes than I've ever seen. So we want to be proactive with these 401ks. They've got a tax tumor. You're going to have to pay it. If you delay taking money out, possibly the government could take even more money. So it makes no sense to let all this money sit there. So if you don't need it, pull it out, pay taxes on it. Okay, so we'd want to pull out about $8,000, pay the tax, and then gift for the next 6 years. We're going to do this. Gift $6,000 to your 35-year-old son or daughter. Now what happens is, in 10 years of gifting, the son or daughter now has over $200,000 of coverage. The policy is paid up. All of this is tax-free, by the way, the gift, the death benefit. And listen to this, if you have grandchildren, if that 35-year-old has a granddaughter or grandson that maybe you like more than your son or daughter, just kidding, folks. But anyway, you're sitting there thinking, wait a minute, if my child dies, I've been able to help pass over $200,000 tax-free. This is the key. Tax-free to protect my grandchild. So folks, we call this legacy planning. And if you're trying to create a legacy, particularly tax-free, the best, I'm going to repeat this, the best asset to create tax-free proceeds that are guaranteed to be worth more than you put in. Remember, guaranteed to be worth more than you put in. And in this example, certainly would be a dividend participating 10-pay policy. So I hope that helps. I hope you've kind of gotten an understanding that in the first half of life, there's certainly things we can do to help you monitor your progress. So if you're sitting there, regardless of your age, maybe it's yourself that you need some help monitoring that first half. Maybe you're well past the first half, but you want to kind of do some things to plan for those first half kids or grandkids. Give us a call at 877-499-9255 or just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started. Once again, on behalf of my favorite son-in-law, if you'd like a 10-pay illustration, regardless of your age, you can get one of those free of charge. We promise we won't hound you or bug you. To get a free 10-pay illustration, just go to Trey, that's Trey, at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. We've enjoyed being with you. Remember, next week we're going to cover the second stage of Monitor Your Progress. We call that halftime. So you in particular, if you're over the age of 55 and under the age of 70, this is a crucial period of time for you, what I call halftime. You're going to want to tune in next week on the Worry-Free Retirement. But you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
You don't got it, you don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.